Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Great, Dr. Gene. How you doing?
Good, man. So today on this episode of Getting Certified, we're talking about the organizational learning competency domain, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Module 6.
Yeah, module 6 of the curriculum, which matches up to module 6 and 7 out of the training curriculum, match up to the organizational learning competency domain, specifically how senior managers, senior leaders support organizational support learning
Yep,
in their organizations, right?
that's correct.
Yep. And so today we're broadcasting live as usual, all live, no edits. It is what it is. whatever, whatever comes out of our mouths is there to stay, right?
We are who we are. Just
Yeah.
live with that.
Yep. So broadcasting live on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and I think Twitter. And no Twitter. The control room is telling me no Twitter. And this will also end up on our Spotify account, Getting the Work Done. I believe Spotify, RBLP Spotify account, and also iHeart, RBLP on iHeart radio. And you'll also find it on our RBLP YouTube channel.
Sure.
That's the other place we're broadcasting live right now is YouTube, not Twitter. So today, so Emilio is supporting running the tech on this thing. He's throwing up the organization, putting up organizational learning on the screen. I'm going to put my glasses on and see if I can lean in and read this. So, here's a quick definition or an intro to the competency domain.
Right.
That's it. Organizations must be able to learn and change to survive and compete over time. Meaningful change in any organization is the result of learning. Managers who support organizational learning help create a culture where challenges are seen as opportunities for growth. And this enables the organization to navigate uncertainties and stay competitive. Organizations that are capable of learning and change are resilient. A learning organization is a resilient organization, right? Resilient organizations thrive in challenging environments because they can overcome adversity, adapt, and grow. So, in the previous competency domains of these resilience building leadership competency domains that came out of the job task analysis, the leadership job task analysis that we did in 2018 and 2019, those earlier competency domains, the ones having to do with team climate and team cohesion and individual purpose and experiential team learning, those had to do with the team's ability to adapt and to overcome adversity, adapt, and grow, right? So that was focused at the team level. But team learning, right? Teams being able to adapt, grow, learn, change over time is the foundation of organizational learning. So this competency domain here sort of, makes that transition between what's happening at the team level across the enterprise, across the organization, and how that manifests as organizational learning. How does the organization writ large get better over time? How does it learn? How does the organization learn from its collective, the collective experience of all the teams that make up the organization? So we've got 4 leader tasks. They're big though. 4 big leader tasks in this competency domain of organizational learning. We're only going to cover 2 of those. 2 of those today. And these correlate to what's taught in module 6 of the training, the certification prep training curriculum. Leader task 1: analyze organizational learning capacities. This is what you do when you join an organization. It's what you do as a senior manager, senior leader inside the organization all the time. You're trying to analyze the organization's ability to learn, right? To learn from experience, to adapt, to grow, to change, to remain competitive. And so some of the supporting concepts here are know why supporting organizational learning is important. Why is the senior manager, senior leaders role in supporting this process of organizational learning is so important. Know how to analyze organizational learning capacity. Know why continuous improvement is important, and know why innovation is important. So we're going to start there, Mark, about continuous improvement and innovation. Our job task analysis identified that senior leaders, senior managers, and organizations support both continuous improvement and innovation across the enterprise. Both are important, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Improvement is important and innovation is important. So to start off with, let's kind of compare and contrast those two things. What are we talking about by continuous improvement, and what are we talking about with innovation? How do you explain that to people, Mark, the difference between continuous improvement and innovation?
Well, I think it's twofold, obviously, right? So, organizational learning that involves continuously improving and innovating to gain and actually maintain a competitive advantage. Because if you don't have that, if you just keep staying status quo and it's good enough to get along, then you're probably going to get your lunch eaten by a competitor. That's just the reality of life. Okay.
Yep.
And learning organizations, they must be skilled at both of those, continuous improvement and innovation. It's not like an either or thing, right? They both have to work in tandem. So, but organizational learning, ironically, and we're talking about at the senior level here, right? But organizational learning starts at the team level. That's where those people are going through the experiential learning cycle and finding out what right looks like or how to get to it. And that needs to be a part of the organization when we find that type of success. So, that's the first thing out of the gate that we start talking about.
Yep. So both continuous improvement and innovations are generally speaking going to start at ground level, at the team level. Mm-hmm. That's who's coming up with an improvement or an innovation. So an improvement, something that making a process better, making a product better, doing. Tweaking the way procedures, the way things are done, perhaps, hiring a couple of additional skill sets to round out a specific department. All of those could be continuous improvements, kind of making what's already there better and better. Over time, lean, lean methodologies, lean success, some of these things are kind of focused on that. Whereas innovation is different. Innovation is something entirely new, right? So instead of tweaking the process, modifying the process slightly to improve it, to make it better, sometimes the process, you have to discard it and start all over again. And maybe you're not even, it's kind of like the single loop and double loop learning that we talked about back at the team level, at the organizational level. This sort of manifests as things being either improvements upon what we're already doing, or they fall into the category of innovation. There's some gray area in between, of course. I suppose one man's innovation might be another man's improvement. Right. But as long as you understand, that both are important inside of an organization. Not good enough to simply fix things on the margins. All that's part of it, but you also have to innovate. Some things require entire, complete innovations to start over again. Right, sort of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Right.
Right. That's right.
So the competitive advantage, you mentioned that competitive advantage, and most folks understand what competitive advantage is in the commercial marketplace. If you sell lawnmowers, then you want to, you want an advantage over other folks that are selling lawnmowers. You either build it better or cheaper or sleeker, or there's something that gives you an advantage. If it's electric, your batteries may last longer. What have you, maybe safer, maybe lighter, easier to push. Maybe it's made in America and that's a competitive advantage. Who knows?
Yeah.
Pretty easy to determine what a competitive advantage is in the regular commercial marketplace. It gets more difficult when you're talking about, for example, government agencies, right? So if you run the local DMV, the Division of Motor Vehicle Offices in your hometown, if you're the manager there, what does competitive advantage mean to you? Because you don't have any competition, really. You're the only Department of Motor Vehicles in the town.
Right.
Everybody's coming there, right, for the plates and their license. You don't have to really get that. You don't really have to be get better at what you do necessarily, because they're coming there. So that presents a dilemma, right, where folks that work inside of bureaucracies need to get a bit creative of how they develop that sort of competitive mindset within the organization, a culture of learning and change, a culture of striving to get better, to improve and to innovate over time and deliver better services, even when you're fairly safe in your job. You're not the DMV is not going out of business, right? So folks in those cases have to get pretty creative, either by setting certain goals, and so they're competing against themselves. Like, can we actually get better? Or maybe they want to compete and be the best, the DMV in this town better than the one on the other side of the county or the other side of the state. And so, senior managers, senior leaders need to get a bit creative in this regard to drive that competitive spirit. And quite frankly, it's missing a lot of times in bureaucracies, right?
Well, and I was going to say that, because people, when I've done training with folks over the years, and they've gone, yeah, but such and such has been there forever in the government, and so we're so on. And I said, you're right, and they probably still remain there in some form. However, you do know this, that instead of me paying all of these federal employees, I can cut that, bid a contract, and have somebody come in and do the work and effort. And guess what? I don't pay out. I can actually save money in the end by doing this, because you can get contractors to come do the same work. And it's a one flat rate. And I don't have to pay matching and Social Security and all kinds of stuff on that. So guess what? It can be taken over. So do you want to get better and improve, or do you just want to be status quo and everybody's moaning and complaining about the lack of service?
Right.
So that's a reality of what happens in the real world. But sometimes people kind of forget that and go, "Wow, we've been here forever."
Right.
But it can go away. So
organizational change, it's a big, people talk about organizational change all the time. Lots of people have written books on change. John Cotter wrote a famous books, classic really on change, leading change. And so, senior managers, senior leaders need to understand why organizational change is important. For one reason, it's important because it gets this idea of competitive advantage, right? If you're not, advantage, gain and maintain, we say oftentimes, it's, advantage can be fleeting. Things are always adapting and changing. Technological changes are coming fast and furious. If you're not adopting artificial intelligence technologies into what you do, then you're probably falling behind the competition. If you're not using those tools to save time, become more efficient and more effective. So change is it's not if, right? But when. It's like death, taxes, change. These are things that are
absolute.
They're absolutes. They're not going to. Going away. So change is important. I mean, if you work at Amazon today, it's not the same as Amazon 20 years ago. A lot has changed. At Amazon in order to grow that organization, to be competitive, build market share, and so forth. If you work if you're in the military, the United States Army is not the same Army today as it was 20 or 30 years ago. Technology and people and policies and procedures and political leadership, all of these things change over time, and the organization has to change with the times in order to stay relevant, to maintain competitive advantage, and to continue existing as an organization, right? And some organizations that don't change may perish. There are some good examples out there, right? Give us an example.
Yeah, well, and maybe I'm dating myself here, and that's okay. There was a place called Blockbuster at one time, and
that's a favorite one to get beat on, right?
Yeah, I could beat on that one all day long, twice on Tuesday. But Blockbuster had a window of opportunity where there was like, instead of the VHS tapes, it was this disc thing that was coming out, and the big disc, and yada yada yada, and they were. And then they said, well, there's this other technology where people would just rent stuff, or they would get a disc sent to them. We don't need to do that. Look at us. Every Friday and Saturday night, man, we got people standing outside the door waiting to get in here and get a movie and so on. We're good to go. We're fine. All right. Yeah, you were fine until you weren't. Okay. Because you lost that opportunity to get with the current way that was going to be more efficient and, quite frankly, what customers wanted.
Right.
And you didn't do it because you had been so long holding that market basically as the one and only. And guess what? You got competition and your lunch got eaten. And guess what? Go tell me where you can find a Blockbuster today. I think there's one like somewhere in Utah somewhere that's sitting there. And it's kind of a place where they meet and shake hands and greet each other in the company and the business. But other than that, they do nothing else. Yeah. So it's just the way it is. It's like
a lot of innovation going on in that industry, that resulted in streaming services and so forth. And so sometimes businesses are doomed by technologies. Some things are just going to go out of business eventually because sometimes it's not possible to change enough to survive, and that's when things go extinct. Businesses and can go extinct. There are jobs that people used to do and businesses that used to be around 15 or 20 years ago that simply don't exist today. And so not always able to change enough to hang around, but hanging around is going to require some level of change over time. Anybody that's doing things the same old way is not going to survive, right? So
that's right.
So organizational learning, continuous improvement, innovation are important. And so this idea of analyzing organizational learning capacities, the senior manager, senior leader's ability to look across the enterprise and answer this question for themselves. Are we, as an organization, continuously improving from the ground up on the things that we do? Are we innovating to develop new ways of doing things, new processes, new procedures? I mean, it's not, innovation isn't always just about a new product, right? Or a new service. It's about innovating different ways of delivering what you do. So new procedures, new processes, new technologies, all of these are innovations. Anytime you start over, if it's so new that if someone looks at it and they don't just say, well, that's better, they say, well, that's new. Then you've innovated, right? You've made it so different. So if you're in an organization, these are questions as a senior manager, senior leader, you need to be asking yourself and the organization: Are we improving continuously? Are we innovating? Are we getting after competitive advantage? Are we striving towards it? And is the organization changing over time, which is a good thing. All right, let's look at leader task number 2, if we could.
Promote a shared vision.
Yeah, there we go. So promote a shared vision is leader task number 2. Ties into this idea of organizational learning, learning and change over time. To what end, right? If we are changing, if we are improving, if we are innovating, what is that end state that we're after in the future, right? And so promoting a shared vision across the enterprise. This is a top-down
Yes.
thing. Generally, innovation and improvement. Learning is a bottom-up. Shared vision is a top-down. It's senior leaders in an organization decide what they want the organization to look like down the road, years down the road, right? And so, some of the key components of this is know why promoting a shared vision is important, know how to promote a shared vision, and know why mission and vision are different. So let's start there with mission and vision, right? So if vision is what we want to be in the future, the future me.
Right.
If future Gene wants to be 20 pounds less than right now, Gene, right? If that's my vision, what is mission in contrast?
Well, mission is going to be, the goals, the objectives. How are you going to get there? Let's start mapping that out. That bold aspirational vision is going to drive the learning and change. I need a new program. I've been doing this in the past. There's something else I need to do. Add that into my program, whatever it is. So if your example was I want to cut some pounds, okay, is what you're doing working? Well, it's okay, but not very well. Okay, what else can you do?
Right.
And you have to dig into that, and you have to find what is that, that vision that will drive learning and change.
Yep. So mission is what you do day to day, right? Mission
Right.
is what every organization accomplishes at the end of you accomplish the mission by the end of the day. And ideally, that mission that you are accomplishing day to day is furthering you in pursuit of the vision that you see for the organization in the future. So for me, if my vision is to, if I was the organization and my vision was to lose 20 pounds, then the mission might be to eat, 1,500 calories today. Right. That would be the mission. Or if I'm an organization like, I'm, a government organization, and my vision is to cut staff by 15 or 20%, by the next fiscal year, then we're going to develop a strategy to get there, right? Which is what we're going to next. And then there's going to be a mission, daily, weekly, monthly, if you will, missions of how do we get the work done while at the same time working our way towards the vision, right? So not everything in the vision is you got to get the work done today, right? You have to do what you do, but at the same time have a strategy that's working towards the vision, right? So what I tell people a lot of times, if vision is where we're going, strategy is how we're going to get there, and the route that we're going to take to get there. And the mission, if it's a 10-day trip across country, getting to the other side of the country is the vision. The route that we take is the strategy, and the amount of driving that we do each day is the mission, right? And so all of those things, strategy and mission and vision, are all interrelated, right? And then the last one here, culture, where culture fits in, right? So go ahead and tell people what. How does culture fit in to your ability to get the work done every day, which is mission, to get the work done in such a way that you're striving towards a better future, which is your strategy. Where does culture come into that?
Well, when it comes to culture, organizations, they're going to realize their visions by, first of all, building a great culture and executing a sound strategy. They have to walk in tandem, right? And then culture is that shared assumptions, values, beliefs that govern how people are going to behave across the organization. And we make sure from top down, we're communicating this to every level within the organization. So, people will do amazing things, but if they have no idea where we're going and how we're going to get there and how does this tie in, if I don't understand it, I'm going to be checking blocks. I'm not going to really be digging in. And so this is what's critical about this when you get to this stage. You have to include people. You have to make sure they're well versed and they understand and they all on the same page. Otherwise, you've got a lot of chaos and confusion, and it just works counter. It works against you.
Yeah, it's very difficult to accomplish the mission, execute strategy, work diligently towards a shared vision if the culture is bad.
Right.
Right. And so back to my driving across country analogy, if getting across the country is the vision and the route that I'm going to take to get there is the strategy, which, by the way, I might change that route if I hit
Sure.
obstacles or bad weather, right? Strategy
Right.
can change
Right.
overnight if it has to.
Yep.
My mission is a certain amount of driving each day. And I've got my wife and kids with me. Culture is how we're all getting along inside of the car, right? So if the culture inside of the car is not good, if there's if it's not pleasant, if it's not if there's a lot of fighting going on, if it's backseat driving and all of those, if all of those, I won't stop for directions because I'm pig-headed. If the culture is bad, it's going to make the execution of the mission, that much harder. It's going to make executing the strategy probably unlikely, and the chances of getting to where I'm going, at least in a timely manner, right? The competitive advantage means I need to do those things that get me there on time, earlier than what, if I'm a day late and $1 short, it made the whole trip across country may not have been worthwhile if I was trying to make, the Dodgers playing in DC and I miss it by a day. So that's, competitive advantages. I want to get there, 2 days early and enjoy this, and take in some sights ahead of time. So, all of these things work together. All of these are the purview of the senior manager, the senior leader, understanding how culture, strategy, mission, and vision all fit together are important, and promoting a shared vision. A vision is, a top-down vision from leadership of what the organization needs to look like in the future, future self of the organization. If it doesn't get shared, if people don't understand it, if people aren't bought into it, then it's not going to be effective, right? Because how do you build a strategy to get to nowhere? Why do you, are you executing mission just for, to get it done day to day without any thought of where you're, what it needs to look like in the future? And if, so vision, a shared vision that everybody understands helps leaders below the senior level and even senior leaders to make decisions about strategy and mission and adjustments to culture as required to be able to realize the vision, right? And a big piece of this is trying to create a culture of learning and change, right? Culture that questions the status quo, that's eager to learn, that sees building a resilient organization that can bounce back from adversity, adapt, and grow. An organization and people inside of it that see challenges as an opportunity to solve problems, to improve, and to innovate and get better, right? And so that's that's the key component of culture that we're trying to talk about in this program. That's important to this idea of building resilient teams and building resilient organizations. Is a culture of learning and change, where the status quo is not good enough, right?
Yes.
All right, so we're coming up right on about 30 minutes, so I think that'll wrap it up. And then next week, of course, we are going to talk. Next week, by the way, I'll be coming to you from Rapid City, South Dakota.
There you go.
I'm actually headed there tonight. So I'll be broadcasting live from there next Tuesday for an episode of Getting Certified. And on that episode, we are going to wrap up this 7-week series of talking a little bit, quick intro into each one of the competency domains and the leader tasks and supporting concepts in each one. Next week will be the second half, part 2
Right.
of organizational learning and what senior managers, senior leaders do to support organizational learning. And those 2 leader tasks are going to match up with what's taught in module 7 of the certification prep training. So the last and final module applicable to senior leaders. This is what they need to know to earn the RBLPT or trainer certification. That's the one for senior leaders. It's also the one you need to be able to teach the certification prep to other folks. That's why we call it. That's why we call it trainer. And so that's what we'll cover next week. Is the second half, right?
Yes, and those 2 leader tasks we will be tackling next week is foster knowledge emergence, and we're also going to talk about ensure knowledge diffusion.
So knowledge has to come up, and then it has to go out, right?
Right.
That's how we learn to do things
That's
differently. Again, this is that relationship between team learning and organizational learning, right? Bubbles up from the team level. People figure out how to do things better. That's got to bubble up, get recognized. It has to be recognized as something we should be doing across the entire organization.
Not just in these departments, across the whole organization.
And then it's got to get pushed out to make sure that the bank on the west side of town is doing things successfully, like the bank on the east side of town, and that they're not operating in silos within the organization, right?
Right.
It's not organizational learning unless it gets across the entire organization, right?
Yeah, that's called individual learning.
Otherwise, individual and team learning.
Right, exactly. No team learning going on.
Yeah. All right, so we'll be back next Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Importantly, 1 p.m. Mountain time in Rapid City, South Dakota. And for anybody that lives in the panhandle of Florida, like Emilio, 2 p.m. Central time.
Yes, sir.
Right? Mountain time in Rapid City, indeed. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Getting Certified. Thanks.
Take care.
RBLP. Learn more, lead better.
Catch us next week. See ya.